are still people who love the scriptures more than they love people. So the moment you say something they don't like, the moment you say something they disagree with, they'll persecute you because they don't have grace for nobody except for the people in their camps. And guess what? They barely got grace for them. The modern day Pharisees are people who love seminary but hate community. They're people who love studying but hate loving their neighbor as themselves. And I don't care how much they look like the spiritual elite of this time, just like they look like the spiritual elite of their time, if they don't love God's people, their doctrine is still off. But who are the modern day Sadducees of our time? The modern day Sadducees is a so-called Christian whose doctrine is still a little loosey-goosey. The modern day Sadducee is a so-called Christian who tell you that Paul's words isn't authoritative. So because of that, we can be actively homosexual and actively Christian. That is a heresy from the modern day Sadducee. The modern day Sadducee tells us, no, you can worship any God that you want to worship, right? It doesn't matter, worship them all. That is a heresy from the modern day Sadducee. If we begin to dig a little bit in verses 1 and 2 and figure out why they're really mad at Peter and John, we'll understand why the world will be mad at us. They're mad at Peter and John particularly because in Acts chapter 3, they begin making absolute claims in a very pluralistic society. An absolute claim is a truth claim that claims to be complete, that claims to be total and independent without any outside sources to validate that claim. In other words, an absolute claim is a truth claim that says what I believe about this subject is automatically right, which automatically makes what you believe about this subject wrong. If I go outside right now and I say, I think the sky is kind of blue, it ain't an absolute claim. Why? Because that's an opinion based on a probability. The world accepts that all day. They don't have a problem with that. But if I go to the part of the world where most people claim that the sky is red, and I come and say, nah, the sky is actually blue, I don't have to look them in the eyes and say, y'all are wrong, the sky is not red, the sky is blue. My absolute claim automatically says, I'm right, y'all wrong. The world hates that. This is the reason why. Because everybody in the world wants to be right, but not everybody in the world loves truth. There are going to be people in this world who would deny this truth that the sky is blue simply because they have an affection for the color red. There are going to be people who would deny the scriptures and the God of the scriptures because they want to worship the gods that they want to worship. And so when Peter and John show up in Acts chapter 3, they don't have to look them in the eyes and say, y'all gods are false, because they're saying Jesus is the only true God. They don't have to say y'all gods don't bring life, because they're saying Jesus is the only life. They're making absolute claims in a what? In a pluralistic society. Now, what is a pluralistic society? A pluralistic society is a society that says every worldview and every ideology is equally valid just as long as we respect one another. Someone in a pluralistic society cannot properly refute the Christian worldview if they don't do to us what they claim we're doing to them. It's to say, Christians, you're wrong and we're right, because this is the truth. They want the same thing the devil wants, and that is they want all of us to be unsure. Because when everybody is unsure, nobody has